All right, guys, so we are on day 14 of our 40-day challenge here in Million Dollar Hiring Strategies Facebook group. And the whole point of this challenge is that it's bite-sized pieces of content that you can deliver back to your team. You can have your team on here, and it's going to be 40 days. We're on day 14 of the 40 days. I highly suggest you go back and take a look at what we've covered so far. And within the 40-day challenge, I was talking about the 5 core pillars that it takes to build great culture in a company. And we're on the 5th pillar today. This is the last one of the 5. And it's the people pillar. We're going to jump into it, and there are going to be some really great things to look at and also be able to measure what my culture looks like if by doing these things, I'm going to be able to measure what my culture looks like and therefore then take action on it. Because it's really hard to measure culture, right? It's kind of what it feels like or looks like, but there's no KPIs I can really use to tell me that I have strong culture or I don't. That's something very hard. It's kind of like, how do you measure leadership? So we're going to jump in, and I want to talk about today's pillar. So we've covered the core, the pillar culture, the mission pillar, the core competencies pillar, and the performance standard. And today is the people pillar. People pillar. And what that looks like, and I've taught this before in the closed Woot Recruit community a couple months ago in a much longer version of each one of these, but someone had asked, why did we leave people last because they're the least important? And actually, no. I left people last of these 5 pillars because they're the most important. And we need people to carry all of this out. That's why I left it last, because it's the key, most important part of the 5 pillars. And so I have a few questions when we talk about this, and I want you to think about something. I want you to look at we can label this any way we want. Your best employee, your A player, your highest performer, your rock star. Who is that? And then I want you to look over here on the other side and say, I'm going to look at my worst C player, lowest performer, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call that. And I want you to look at both of them. And I want you to think about the gap between the both of them. The gap between my best employee and my worst employee. How big is the gap? So I want you to think about it. How big is the gap? Because there's a little test here. The bigger the gap, the weaker your culture. The smaller the gap, the stronger your culture. So if all of them are really inconsistent and in line and all very similar with the way they perform and deliver the service, the stronger your culture. If the gap is huge, if I have this large gap between my best and my worst, that means my culture is very weak. It's very unstable. So you have Susie over here. Great, never calls out, amazing. And I have over here, I got Betty, and she is calling out, and I can't sleep at night because I know someone's going to call out. That's a huge gap, right? That is a huge gap. That means we have a weak culture. We went through this and Organize It. Got my Organize It dress on. I had another one on last week, or actually on Monday. We went through this and Organize It where we had a huge gap. But if you were to ask Lisa today how big that gap is actually really small now. We have really focused on that, and not having those issues anymore saves us from the chaos that we experience on a day-to-day basis when you can shorten the gap. So how far is the gap between your best and worst employee? The bigger the gap, the weaker the culture. The smaller the gap, the bigger the gap, the weaker the culture. The smaller the gap, the stronger the culture. So the next question is, when I examine this, am I cleaning out the weak fast enough? Am I cleaning out the weak fast enough? Or am I only spending all of my time over here with the weak people I'm keeping? Am I spending, it's the 80-20 rule. Everything goes back to the 80-20 rule. Am I spending 80% of my time with the 20 bottom percent of my staff? And am I neglecting my top performers because I'm only spending 20% of my time with them because the 80% of my time is going to the bottom 20? Like when you say that to yourself, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm neglecting my top performers because 80% of my time is going to the weak performers because of putting out the fires, the call outs, having to reschedule, calling customers, dealing with complaints. That's putting 80% of your time over in the 20% of your bottom performers. And this is why our top people leave. This is why they keep leaving, because they're not getting our time or attention they deserve, because we're putting it over here, putting out fires. So, are you clearing out that bottom fast enough? I have 3 short sentences I want to share with you. It's hire fast, fire faster, and promote fastest. And if we don't have a career ladder, we can't do that. We can't say, hey, Susie, in 6 months, you could be a trainer, right? And we can't give them things to aspire to be if they're just a tech all the time. So we should hire fast, fire faster, and promote fastest. So when we're talking about the 80-20 rule and our time being devoted, you know, what does that look like? You should be spending 80% of your time with your 20 top performers and making them even better and even stronger to aspire the others to move up to that. And we need those career ladders to also do that, right? I've heard Martha from QDS mention this over and over and over, these career ladders. You need them. You have to have them. People need to aspire to go somewhere and climb in your business. And the other question I have is, what does your company look like? What does your team look like? Do you have a bunch of clones? I hear over and over and over in the recruiting and in coaching realm that I want to clone me. I need more of me. That's actually not the way we need to be thinking. We need more of what complements us. We need more of what we're weak in. We need more of those. So our team should not look like a bunch of clones. It should be complementing everybody else on the team. We should be hiring in our weaknesses. Hire in your weakness. So what does that look like? Is your team a bunch of clones, and have you been trying to clone yourself? The other thing is, you cannot take withdrawals from people that you have not invested into. So I cannot continue to withdraw from people that I have not invested in. And so if I'm not investing my time in my top 20%, those A players, I cannot continue to withdraw from them and expect for them to give me anything. So at the end of the day, recruiting should never stop, because it's a constant cycle of building and coaching our team and hiring right and replacing the bottom tier. So that's why we should always be recruiting. People ask me all the time, Libby, what if I don't need to hire? My first question is going to be, are you telling me your entire team is A players? No one has called out in a month. Like, no one is underperforming or has quality issues. And not one person has ever been able to tell me, yes, that every single person on my team is an A player. No one calls out. Everybody shows up on time and everybody has good quality. And that is why we should always be recruiting and replacing that bottom tier, because it's not mean. It's, in reality, this is not their calling. We need to set them free so they can go find the dream job or the company culture that fits them properly. And so when we look at it that way, we are leading them to where they need to be, because obviously they just maybe took it for convenience or money, but they're not our top performers. So I want to leave you with a closing statement. Well, first, I want to know how far the gap is. Put in the replays, how far is the gap between? Is it a large gap? Let's just use large, medium, small. What's that gap look like between my top performer and my worst performer? My closing statement is, we have to get better people, or we get our people better, or we have to get better people. That's our job as leaders, managers, and owners. We have to get people better. That's by coaching them, training them, teaching them, right? We have to get them better. We have to get people better, or we have to get better people. So hopefully you guys are having an amazing Cinco de Mayo. Wait a minute. Okay. So if anybody's watching, Libby has her Cinco de Mayo hat, and I do have my tequila in the refrigerator for margaritas because Woo Recruit is having a company meeting at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And yes, I will be having a margarita. That is the benefit of owning the company. I can drink during business hours. So I have my sombrero ready. If you guys don't know Libby, she is half Mexican and half Native American. But yes, I have my sombrero ready. It is Cinco de Mayo. After that, me and Chris are going to go have some margaritas. Well, I'll have one for him. He doesn't drink. So hope you guys are having a great Friday, a great Cinco de Mayo, and hopefully this content was relevant. I loved hearing when I was researching this, the gap between your strongest and your weakest, and also I was investing 80% of my time in the 20% bottom performers. I shouldn't be doing that. So have a great Friday, guys.